Now, the Indian Premier League making all the noise yesterday despite being a mini auction. Some of the trends that were predicted right here was seen. Australians made most of the money. The post-World Cup honeymoon clearly still going on. Fast bowlers in great demand. As predicted, some buys that seemed pointless and some more smart than the rest to recover as well. So let's decode how the squads look. How have they shaped up? Who's made the most of the auction? Who's bungled it all up? All right, let's start with the franchise, I think, that came in, ate their snacks and did what they came for and left the building. They clearly were smart with whom they wanted, a good mix of the newsmakers and some young guns and some sentimental picks too. I'm speaking, of course, of the Chennai Super Kings, the winners of the last season. After botching up the last two auctions, CSK definitely got their plan right. What did they do right? They got Rachin Ravindra and Daryl Mitchell, two of the biggest players coming out of the ODI World Cup for just around 15.1 crore Indian rupees. CSK is known to be a frugal team that is fighting the urge and the trend of paying big bucks for the big players. So they do that one massive spend ever so often. It's a pattern that never misses, whether it was Andrew Flintoff back in the day, Deepak Chahar for 15 crores, Ben Stokes, or Mitchell now this time for 14 crore rupees. The only thing though, their big picks didn't deliver the season they were picked in. They'll hope Mitchell comes in all guns blazing for them the next year. Getting Rachin for a steal was a good deal, and then of course bringing back Shardul Thakur for again into their fold, not much strain on the purse as well, a big plus. They bought an exciting young talent in Sameer Rizvi, something they've been excelling in, recognizing good young players like they did with Ruturaj Gaikwad. So with Mitchell firepower in the middle and Rachin as an added spin bowling option, plus Mustafizur's skills as well at Chepauk, it's a strong lineup. Let's go over to the finalists from the last year, Gujarat Titans. Now it's tough really to fill a void as the one that Hardik Pandya has left behind. But Gujarat surely are struggling a bit. They struggled a bit, in fact, at the start of the auction, seeming to be indecisive with who to really go the distance with. They started bidding big and getting into that war over Harshal Patel and Mitchell Starc, but dropped out. Remember, they needed that foreign and Indian pacers in their lineup. Yet they didn't close out either of those deals. They kind of lost their way initially, but found some ground towards the end by picking up some smart buys, like Azmatullah Omarzai for base price, Umesh Yadav to pair up with Mohammad Shami and Mohit Sharma, a quintessential trio, and some Indian uncapped buys like Shah Rukh Khan, who brought them back into the game. That stuck in. They, of course, stuck in to get Spencer Johnson, again an Aussie who garnered enough interest at the auctions to round off a decent day for them. Let's go over to Mumbai Indians then. They were frugal, obviously, going by how much they have splurged to get back Hardik and make him captain. They will be happy with their one big purchase, and that is Gerald Coetzee. The South Africa fast bowler again had a great ODI World Cup, and picking up Dilshan Madhushankar was again a very smart move. Their concern was spin department, someone to aid Piyush Chawla. They've gone with Shreyas Gopal. Not the superstar name, but when it comes to turn, this will have to do. And of course, that slinger, that surprise slinger as well in their midst, who has come in there. And if he gets a game, could be exciting. Over to Lucknow Super Giants, a very quiet auction, no big stunning purchases and not really standing out with too many of their selections. Their most expensive buy, an Indian fast bowler who's had some injury concerns, Shivam Mavi. He's shown promise, but consistency it is what is required. I'm particularly excited about the player that they picked up, which is M. Siddharth, a youngster from Tamil Nadu, again a promising player who's one for the future. On to Rajasthan Royals. Now the trend for most teams in all these auctions is to start slow and then get into a buying frenzy. Rajasthan did that the last auction when they suddenly realized they were one foreign player short and went in for Joe Root. But this time they picked up their best buy right on the first set, and the very first name, Rovman Powell, going for a decent amount to be a solid purchase for Rajasthan. A great pick for them. And of course, a great youngster as well. Thanks to some of their scouting, they already have the core, Avesh Khan, to boost the bowling department from the trade-off, and they seem to be in a good place. But the question, is their skipper in a good place? Moving on to Bengaluru. They do desperately wanted to revamp their bowling unit. It's the same old story, and with Alzari Joseph, Yash Dayal, Lockie Ferguson, you'd think that they would tell themselves, not a bad job done, but A bowling unit with Chinnaswamy as the home ground needs that X factor. I don't see that with any of these Starc purchases standing out, particularly in the spin department. I'm guessing that they're going to turn to Karan Sharma and Glenn Maxwell's arm to do some bidding for them in the season to come up. Moving on to Kolkata Knight Riders. What did you do, Knights? Mitchell Starc is good. Yes, I admit the Aussies clearly have been, the pick of the auction, but worth 24.75 crores. Either ways, we all knew they would be very keen on Starc and they had the money for it. What they did do well is make sure the remaining purse was smartly spent on some decent picks like Chetan Sakaria, Mujibur Rahman, who's again going to be key. But there are still some concerns when it comes to the playing 11 and who their foreigners will be that they'll want to look to field. Let's talk of Punjab Kings. Looked busy and buzzing, didn't do too many big buys except for the one that was a great pick for them, Harshal Patel at the start. They'd be happy with that. Some unsuccessful chases during the auction that prompted them to get a little trigger happy with their paddle. They, of course, were quick to come out with a retraction saying that the player that they unfortunately seemed like they didn't want, they actually had it all planned. A quick repartee to cover up the damage that was already done. On paper, they look like a good side. But what's new, you ask? That's been the story of Punjab, a team that's looked good on paper but hasn't really delivered on the field. Last two teams now. Delhi Capitals was the talk of the auction for the presence of their skipper, Rishabh Pant, who looked fit, happy and quite enjoyed lifting the paddle occasionally. Did they come out of this auction reasonably satisfied? I'm not too sure. I think the uncertainty over Pant's availability or the extent of his availability and how much he can contribute on the field probably reflected somewhere in their purchases. Even if he comes in, will it be only as a batter and not a keeper? What else explains stacking up their squad with keepers in droves? Harry Brook was a decent buy, but their biggest concern always remains their Indian core, especially when it comes to the batting, and how will they manage that? Now I'll run it off with Sunrisers Hyderabad, making news at the auction table and off it. They splurged all right, and on Pat Cummins. And the only way I see it, the reason why they pushed hard for him was possibly have to do with the captaincy currency that's attached to him. They probably are seeing him to lead in place of an Aidan Markram, who could have been their temporary choice in the first place as captain. Their batting, though, with the addition of Travis Head looks menacing. Henrik Clausen, Glenn Phillips, Travis Head, Aidan Markram. But just a question, how many of these they can actually field in the 11? Their one solid buy was Hasaranga at base price, a killer deal there. But again, how will they field all these players in their 11? What's got me excited though about their purchase, they've bought Jataved, a young spinner, very, very unassuming, and he could be very key if he gets a chance. They were mighty pleased with their auction, but guess who was not? David Warner, former Hyderabad captain who in fact led them to their title win in 2016, suddenly realized he had been blocked by the franchise on the social media handles. He couldn't tag them on any of his posts. But jokes aside, that's how the squads are shaping up. Not too many surprises and a few predictable misses.